I just picked up a burrito for Mr. Kruse, a salad bowl for Mrs. Kruse, and a bowl for myself. I'm about to go over to their place and interview them for the Educator Chipotle Challenge after we share this meal together. Mr. and Mrs. Kruse played such an important role in my elementary school years. When my class was in probably 3rd or 4th grade, Mrs. Kruse told us that she would be at our graduation for high school, and that stuck with me through the years of elementary school, through the years of junior high and high school. And lo and behold, she and Mr. Kruse were at our graduation in 2006 from Stillwater Area High School, and they both came to my graduation party, and that was one of the most memorable times that I have had in my educational career. And I'm so excited to share a Chipotle meal with them and to share the Educator Chipotle Challenge with them and let them know just how impactful their spirit was when they came to school every day with high standards and held us accountable and challenged us to grow academically, personally, socially, emotionally. They were there with us until the end. So I really appreciate them for all that they have done over the years, and I'm super excited to hear about their stories as they became educators and share their stories with other people, and hopefully some of their former students will also see these interviews and see just how impactful they were. Hi everyone, Kayla Ebby here with Mrs. Kruse, my 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade teacher at Anderson Elementary, formerly known as Bayport Elementary. Mrs. Kruse, would you mind sharing how long you taught and at which locations?
I began my teaching experiences out of college in Beloit, Wisconsin. I taught there 1 year, 3rd grade at Gaston School, which is still standing. I was there for 3 years and then left the teaching profession to have a family. And then I had my family and went back and spent the first couple years as substitute teaching, which I did not like at all. I like to have my own class and
have control of.
Right. And then I got a full-time job at Bayport or Anderson Elementary, and I taught mostly 4th grade there, and then had one wonderful group of children for 3rd grade, 4th grade, and 5th grade.
That was my group. I'm so thankful that was my group. And while we're on that note, let's just take a minute to mention how you told my class, it must have been 3rd or 4th grade then, that God willing, you will be at our high school graduation. And Mrs. Kruse, over the years, I had that promise and that commitment replaying in my head over the course of the next few years in elementary school and into junior high and high school. And I was just waiting that day until you came to our graduation, and I was so excited to not only invite you, but to see you and Mr. Kruse come to my graduation party in 2006.
I left then after, I guess it was the next year, in the middle of the year. I left teaching. I was having problems walking and with balance, and then so many of the new requirements coming in, state requirements for reading and math. They started a math program that just blew my mind. I had a very difficult time preparing for it. Each morning I'd look over what I was to teach you, and I'd end up going to Mr. Kruse in tears to have him try to explain to me what I was to explain to you. And it wasn't good for my health, and so I retired then that next year. But I still remembered the promise that I made you all, and I guess it was just a blessing that I could make it. And we so enjoyed watching you all walk across the stage and get that diploma.
And what about our class inspired you to make that commitment?
Well, it was a class that enjoyed learning. They enjoyed doing things together. And they had the respect for me so that I could give them the respect that they desired and deserved, which is very limited nowadays. There just does not seem to be the respect. From the time I entered kindergarten, I had always wanted to be a teacher. In the summer, I would play school with my younger sister and brother and my dolls. And I had a fifth grade teacher that I just dearly loved. And she inspired me to do these different things in the classroom. She did plays with us and art projects that were just unbelievable. You know, Mrs. Cummings was just a dream, and I always thought, oh, can I be a teacher like her?
You most certainly were. I remember you and Mr. Kruse as super inspiring. You held us accountable. Both of you were fun and still stuck to your guns about making sure that we did what we needed to do, and like you had said earlier, that we did our work first and then we played after. And I mentioned earlier that I don't remember every single lesson that you taught me, but the fact that you cared and that you cared enough that you made that commitment to see us through graduation. Not only did you care about how we did in the classroom, but you cared about us outside of the classroom, and that was evident. And I would imagine that is one of many reasons why I bet I could say that my other classmates just adored both of you. My career as a school counselor has been partly inspired by you and Mr. Kruse. And so to be able to be sitting right here, right now in 2018, we hadn't seen each other since my graduation party in 2006, and to essentially pick up where we left off and be able to share this project with you and to let you know in person how impactful you were and you continue to be in my life. It's super meaningful for me.
You're gonna make me cry. Oh, thank you so much.
Oh, absolutely. Can you tell us the most rewarding aspects of being a teacher during your 24 years?
Having students come back and remember things that we've done, like the trips we took that you remembered, and just seeing that you have done something with your life also. And that makes me want to believe that I was maybe a little part of that.
Absolutely. What would you say are some of the challenges that you faced as a teacher?
Golly, well, that was that new math program, that new reading program. And I can truly say that those just drove me out. I liked to do things my way. I liked to teach lessons that were interesting to me and to my students, and not having to make sure that it set up a state requirement, and doing lessons that the children enjoyed. There was a new student that had come in that had been homeschooled. And I was to have him in third grade, and I asked him, I said, what in science, what is one thing that you would like to learn? And he wanted to learn about insects, so we did a unit on insects. Tried to plan things that were meaningful to my students, but yet would give them the knowledge that they needed to go on into junior and senior high. We talked a lot about that. I tried to explain why I was making them learn all of this stuff, because it would help them in junior and senior high. Footnoting, outlining, all of those things that were not really exciting.
Sure. But you definitely made it interesting and interactive. I can appreciate that you needed that creativity in your art as a teacher. What were the most significant changes in education during your 24 years as a teacher?
Boy. Basically, the curriculum changes. And I had been in 3 different school districts, of which all had different curriculums,
right,
different requirements, I can remember doing units, and I had taught first grade, second grade, and third grade during some of those years before I came back to Stillwater. And I remember being able to use some of the units that I had prepared for my third graders with my first graders, meaning that the areas of content had changed that much over the years.
Oh, wow.
And that the degree of it, that things were getting harder at younger years. And that put a lot of stress, I think, on teaching, how to teach that so that it was at a level where my students could understand it and pick it up. And that was the hardest thing, too, to teach a student teacher, of which I had several student teachers. And I can remember one case, and it really brought it to mind. One of the student teachers was giving a spelling lesson, and I had drilled and drilled that you pronounce the word, use it in a sentence, pronounce it again, and then give them time to write the word down. Well, the student teacher didn't understand that, and she would just shoot it out. The word, the sentence, the word, next word. And one of the children, I can just remember, banged his hands on the table and said, "Slow down, I can't write that fast."
Oh. That speaks to, in part your classroom management and just the culture of your class.
We were like a family, and we needed to work together. We had to respect each other. If something wasn't right, they had to let me know so we could work on it.
Can you share a story of a meaningful interaction that you've had with one of your beloved students over the years?
It was so rewarding to have the class of 2006. The number of invitations that I got for their graduation parties. And this was, I think, before they knew we were going to be at graduation. We had said we would be, but not all of them knew that we would definitely be there. So that was just something to have all of these invitations come. And I think I can truly say that we had about 15 of them.
Wow.
Out of that class.
And I have no doubt that you and Mr. Kruse were very busy that summer. Not just coming to mine, but I bet you went to just about every 15.
We went to all of them that we were invited to.
How special is that?
Yes, very special for us.
Wow. What words of wisdom would you want an aspiring educator to hear?
I guess I admire anyone going into education now, knowing the changes that have taken place and how difficult it must be to go into this classroom and try to gain the respect of the children.
Are there strategies or things that you did to gain that respect and gain that relationship? Because it sounds like the relationship building piece of your career was a big part of your success.
Well, it took several years for me to really, know what I was doing and get that down.
Mm-hmm.
But I think one of the things was our before school meetings that we had with the student and the parents, and set down what we expected, what the parents expected from us, the rules and what I expected from them, homework rules, what my ideas would be if they weren't carried through, so that they knew right away, no homework, they stayed in at noon to finish it. And it just, it seemed to make a difference that's how that would be carried out. And some of them I can still remember when I'd say, all right, go down and get your tray, come back up to the room, and you will do your homework. And I can still remember one child looking up at me, but I didn't really think you meant that. I said, well, I did. Just being very honest with them.
Yeah.
Letting them know that I was a human being and that I had feelings and expectations just as they did. And I didn't want to be lied to. Being very honest, I guess, is the key thing.
I really appreciate your candidness in sharing and answering these questions, and hopefully inspiring future educators to take on the changes that have come in the education system since you've been in it. And I really, really appreciate you being a part of this Educator Chipotle Challenge. And, I will be shouting out to you in a different video, but I just want to say, while I have you here, that you made a difference in my life. You continue to make a difference.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
It means a lot to me too.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Oh, just to see how far you've come. I mean, I'm just impressed with all your questions and with coming up with all of this, with that sheet we signed. It's just impressive.
I appreciate that.
A+.